Hello, everyone, and welcome. I'm Sara Wiseman, and today we're going to work on our May 2025 channeled forecast. And as you know, so we do weekly teaching. We often do an extra teaching, and we also do this monthly channel forecast, and we also do an annual forecast. And one of the things that's interesting about the forecasts is that they are done quite a bit earlier, months in advance. In fact, this May forecast was forecast for May, probably in fall of 2024. So it's always very interesting to see what was received, not for the time it was received, but for this time period that we are now inhabiting. It's sort of like when you do remote viewing and you do a code or coordinates to identify the place that you're remote viewing. It's the same kind of thing. We do the channeling for the period of time that is ahead. We're forecasting and looking ahead. So I'm always curious, what's going to be going on in the world, and what does the channeling ask us to look at in relationship to what we're experiencing in the world. By May 2025, I would expect things to have either just come into a big peak of excitement or have just completed that in terms of the world stage. There's so many. We tend to just look at a couple of key figures, especially those that dominate the news streams, but we have to remember how many other beings, other consciousness beings in terms of us as souls, are part of this equation also. We have been working pretty hard at lifting our own consciousness up, and of course that affects the collective. When we think of the collective as this giant ocean, and part of the ocean is super conscious and part of the ocean is waking up. So the more consciousness we bring into our own lives by working on our own personal problems and the things that are in front of us, the more the consciousness of the whole is expanded. And of course, this expansion is infinite. It doesn't stop. So I've been sort of talking to people a lot, first of all, we're overwhelmed with weariness for all of the drama that we've been going through the last, 8 years. And also this sense of taking personal responsibility for our own awareness and not getting sucked into the projections and the drama and the distractions, and like this use of fear and this use of panic and anxiety to control us. Like, we have to take responsibility for that. We have to understand that our collective consciousness is bigger than any one person or one group of people's, lower level greed, power, control. Like, if you look at the map of consciousness for like just one example, it's like really low down there, right? And all these people that are attempting to be in control are working from that level. So don't give up your own path. Okay, so I'm going to read these messages for May 2025. And these are from the Star Guides. Now, by now, the Star Guide book has been out there for a while, and you can go to the website, sarawiseman.com, or you can go to Amazon, or you can ask your favorite local bookseller to order it for you. The StarGuide Messages are the second part. So last year-ish, before that, I received the Gabriel messages from Gabriel, and then very soon after, the StarGuide Messages came in, and those are also in a book form. So here's what we have for May. from the Star Guides. Everything grows in order. Everything grows in order. A plant grows from seed to sprout to stem to bud and blossom. The order is consistent. It is one step after another. So too do humans grow in order, not only in the physical development from infant to toddler to adolescent to adult, but in the evolutionary order of consciousness, which is in essence from separation to oneness. At each stage of development, there are particular challenges, whereas you might say things can go off the rails. This is where humankind is now, at a stage of moving from separation to oneness that is very delicate, very tender, very unformed. To disturb this very tender growth now might result in the annihilation of many of you. Remember, what affects one, capital O, and this includes you as a human species. You are entirely interdependent, even if you resist this idea. We are here to make sure you make your way safely through this tender passage. Most of you, if not all of you. It is important that you not get derailed. You have made it through a great deal, and if you make this particular leap, as it were, you will be able to withstand the next stage of growth more easily. If you get derailed here, you may not get back on track easily, or at least your development will be radically delayed. Over time, everything goes to light, but it is nicer to avoid delay. We cannot interfere. We cannot develop your understanding for you, but we can provide new ways of seeing things. And this spark of understanding will absolutely help you make decisions and create actions that will lift you up to the next level. This is why we are coming into your awareness now. You are ready to move forward if you decide to. If you continued as you have been, you might have destroyed yourselves. Perhaps you still will. If you give an infant a pair of scissors, you will expect an accident. But if you give an immature human who has not evolved a pair of scissors, the carnage that can be inflicted on purpose for the express purpose of watching another suffer, as if that somehow will relieve yourself of your own suffering, this is where you are now. Yet if you give a mature human a pair of scissors, they will carry them safely and use them correctly. You as humans are not mature yet. It is not a pretty picture, but we show things as they are. While some of you have elevated your understanding to a place of compassion, humility, and love, others of you are still the wounded adult. All the power with none of the control. All the ability, all the technology, all the systems at your disposal with none of the maturity or selflessness. You are wounded children striking out as if that will somehow make you feel better. You will not feel better until you heal the wound. It would be easier to think that lashing out in anger will release the anger and rage you feel from being given the wound in the first place. But that is not how healing happens. Healing happens by releasing the energy, not by spewing more. Adding more suffering to suffering does not reduce or relieve suffering. This is true of all things: your past trauma, your past wound, your past regret, your current irritation, your current abuse, your current clear seeing. of the unfairness of the human hierarchy and the cruelty of the human ego. Separation is not a path that resolves itself. Separation only leads to more separation, and this only leads to desolation and depression. You will not find what you are seeking in separation. Causing another pain and suffering will never alleviate your own. So here we are now with many angry humans, considered adults, but without the growth process that defines a true adult, lacking in insight and maturity. Asleep at the wheel and hell-bent on speeding. Asleep yet hell-bent. Ha ha. In all the spans of time on earth, there are sections that are more crucial than others. You might call them growth spurts or times of magnified opportunity. In all the places on earth, there are sections that are in furious growth spurts, but the outcome can go either way here. Time is not linear, it is dimension. Yet expansion does happen in order. It follows universal law, which always moves from contracted to open to yet open again, ad infinitum. The problem can occur that if understanding does not open in some areas, other areas will be slowed or halted, and this may delay the opening of the whole for a longer period of time. As if you tied down a petal of a flower while it was opening. The flower would be stunted by this action. You are meant to bloom freely and of accord with the natural order. We see the petal tied down. We seek to limit the damage. Why do we care? We are similar to gardeners who must watch the entire garden to make sure all species, not just humans, survive. Your growth is accelerating rapidly. A great deal more technology is arriving to you very soon. We are not speaking of artificial intelligence. We are speaking of other new technologies that are about to be discovered or implemented. Soon, very soon, you will make a technological leap forward, and we are here to infuse you with elevated understanding so that you may make best use of these new tools. We are not here to interfere or to change the course of humankind. These are your decisions, all of you together, as human species, as collective, are deciding and directing this even today. We are here to provide an expanded view as an option in case you are ready to live without suffering. It is an option. As always, the choice is yours. And again, these teachings or this channeling is from the StarGuides, and they arrived to me in late 2024, super unexpected, and they identified themselves as being from off planet. They have talked about their difference from being, say, spiritual guides, such as Gabriel, a more angelic form, or some of the other guides that I've worked with. They have identified themselves specifically as off-planet beings who are coming to assist and observe as to how humanity is going to go through this period of time. And one of the things they said in earlier channelings, which you can find on the YouTube and the various streams, is that they are symbiotic to us, and they observed with us, or they understand how things are through the capacity of the human heart And they say that the heart is where the soul resides. Now, I think when I read this, I get a little concerned that the immature adults who are carrying the scissors, as the guides just talked about, are kind of really going to mess it up for everybody, right? And that doesn't seem fair. It sort of reminds me of grade school when I was just a very a model student. Basically, I would just sit there quietly and soak it all in. And always in the back of the room, there was these rowdy, mostly boys, I gotta say, like, but not always. There's just these rowdy kids, right, messing it up, and they seem to be the ones always creating drama and chaos, and also always getting all of the attention, right? So you had these students that were ready to learn, and then you had this rowdy group that needed to be dealt with because they were disrupting the whole class. And that's what it kind of seems to me like now. Like, we've got these immature people running around with scissors. The scissors are the power, the control, but also the scissors are their ability to use all the various streams of propaganda and media, social media, probably AI, to influence our views and to confuse us and to distract us from what's really going on. So I just want you to just be aware that this group is really entirely immature. And if you're following any group, aside from your own quiet stillness, your deep meditation, your own connection to the universe, you would do well to take a look at why you would give your ability to have direct connection to the universe away? Why would you allow some group to tell you what to think or how to feel? Why? Well, you have everything you need to understand the reality. But you do need to turn off whatever whatever propaganda is coming in, and to go into this deeper state where you're connecting to higher realm. When you start to do this practice of going into deeper state, everything shifts. First, you notice, in the channeling, they said everything grows in order. When you do start to become spiritually aware and have spiritual practice, you notice immediately the desolation of your own life, as it were, in that time frame when you get started. You notice all the problems in your relationship. Everything just comes up as a problem when you first start paying attention. And then as you go deeper, you start to catch on to this stream of collective soul, which is the universe, which is everything. All of this direct connection to the divine. And you start to sort of figure your way out of the puzzle. Now, a lot of it is about letting go of old ideas. We hear this so much, oh, just let go. But actually, letting go of our fears and letting go of our anxieties and letting go of our attachments to different things we just really believe, like these various moral stances and this various ways things have to be, and we just let it go. We give space to the idea that there's lots of ways for people to live. But the bigger aspect is that we begin to respect each other as humans having this experience is quite a challenging thing to be a human, basically. It's just quite a challenge. We are learning to get along. We are learning that we are not the only ones on the planet, that these other species are have a lot to say, have a lot of not power exactly, but have a lot of voice in this collective consciousness that we're part of. It's not just that collective consciousness is a bunch of humans meditating. It's all beings, all consciousness. As we move along, it is likely that consciousness is going to rise to a higher level as a whole. And that means that the immature chaos makers and disruptors, the crazy makers, the chaos makers, people who want to promote suffering, the people that are just focused on greed and so forth, they will soon be outnumbered in terms of their vibrational influence. The ocean begins to wake up. More and more people and other beings begin to wake up, and there's suddenly no more interest in participating with these lower, sort of old-fashioned, backwards ideas, greed, power, control, and these make room for the higher level ideas of compassion, cooperation, sharing, generosity, oneness. And so this is the path we're on. Always look to the big picture. The little picture is out there, but the little picture is not going to hold. So just keep to your own practice. And when I say practice, what do I mean? Find a spot, close your eyes, do some breathing, and just ask to connect to the universe in the highest vibration that you can reach at the moment. That's all. Just stay there for a while. All right, everybody. I will see you next time. You can find me at sarawiseman.com.